Yo, what is up? What is up? Welcome back to another episode. And today I'm going to teach you guys how to become a better sim racer coming from a beginner's perspective. I've been sim racing for about 3 months now, and I think it will help you to see how I go about learning new tracks from a beginner's point of view. Every race that I do, I'm pretty much brand new to the track. I don't know anything about it. So I will give you the views that I go through. If you're brand new to the channel, we're doing an IndyCar series here, and our next round takes place at Long Beach. I've never raced at Long Beach. This will be the first time of me ever touching the track, and I'll go around the points of how I learn to race and get ready to record for the feature Grand Prix. So without any further ado, let's hop right into it. All right, guys, let's hop in. We'll lock in. And this is my first time ever seeing Long Beach, so you will see how I go about learning. Sorry, my voice is muffled. I got to race with a mask on. See how I learn about racing. So first off, what I do is I like to turn on the racing line. Gives me a good way to learn how to attack each corner. And then once I get a good familiarity. Once I get familiar with the track, then I turn off the racing line. So let's hop in. Alright, so your tires are going to be cold. So we have a hard braking in the beginning. So a good thing about the racing line is shows you when you can hit the gas. So you see it's red, okay, I can hit the gas here. It helps you know the speed you can hit each corner. Oh, okay. Whoa, so we gotta hit that one a lot slower. The good thing I like about practicing in career mode, for practice, I keep the damage on. The one thing I like about practicing in career mode is that you're able to see how the AI will also take the course. So here, I let him by, and then we can just trail him and see how he does it. So we got the hairpin. That was my first ever lap. Not great. Alright, round 2, Long Beach. Street circuit, no runoff, concrete walls everywhere, so you gotta take it real easy. So when I load into a new track, I don't go for pace immediately. First thing I do is I'm just gathering information. I use the racing line early, not as a crutch, but as a reference tool. So here's what I'm looking for. Where does the racing line turn red? That's my braking reference. Where does it transition from red to yellow? Because that will typically be the apex. And most importantly, when it turns green, so I can mash the gas. This is going to be a tricky turn here. I gotta practice that one. When the racing line turns green, that's the corner exit, and it tells me I've rotated the car enough and I can start feeling the throttle. Most new drivers focus on mid-corner speed. I don't. I try and focus mainly on my entries and exits. On entries, I brake in a straight line, trail off the brakes as I turn in. That is the most important thing. You have to learn how to trail off as turning in with these extreme downforce cars, the open wheel cars. With the trail braking, it really helps so much more. Now I think we'll go and take off the racing line and see how we do. Turn 1 here is really easy to overcook, and it tightens more than you expect. And the fountain section, you have to sacrifice something on exit, something on entry to get something out of your exit. Yeah, so basically that's how a beginner like myself goes about learning the layout of a new track and how to push and where to go. So now that I am familiar with the track, you're going to want to have to take off, my mask. You're going to want to have to take off the racing line. Once you take off the racing line, see, you don't want to race with a racing line because it is the ideal way to race that course, but you yourself want to learn different braking points and different markers on the track. You want to identify markers on the actual track, not the racing line, and that will help you to do that. I know my mask is getting in the way. So let's do that. We're going to take off the racing line now. Let's go back to the scene. All right, here we are back on the track without the racing line. And the thing is, you never know now when you're over pushing it. And that's what you want to do. You want to develop markers on the track that you can rely on for braking. So here at the 200, we start applying the brakes. Oh, that's too much. We're going to have to brake a little earlier there next time. But that's all you're pretty much doing is you're just getting laps in and developing points on the track. Or like they like to say, getting your markers. Yeah, so getting your markers on the track. So let's see how we hit this lap here. I could probably brake a little bit later there. I could also brake a little bit there even. Also, you see with the racing line, I was braking a lot earlier. Now without the racing line, that's where you're going to learn where you can push and where you can. So like I said, in practice I keep damage off because I'm pretty much just practicing. Ooh, too fast there. So let's restart. So as you can see, guys, going without the racing line, it is a lot harder. I'm not gonna lie. But you don't want to have those assists on when you're learning because you're not gonna develop the right crutches. You're not gonna have the right markers. You're not gonna pay attention to the markers on the track. So please, just take off the assist. Learn how to drive the race car in its raw form. So when you are doing these turns, you want to find when can I hit the gas at the earliest without adjusting. So there, I'm pushing it too much. I gotta pull back on the throttle a little bit, or maybe even brake a little earlier or harder. See right there? I hit the throttle a little bit too hard.
Okay, so I stopped talking so I could lock in. Basically, what you want to do without the racing line, you want to look for markers on the track that you could point to as your braking point, turning point, apex, and exit. So right there, I saw that I can brake at the 200-yard marker and still have enough trailing into that turn. Here for the hairpin, I learned to go wide to the left so I could have enough space to exit out from right to left. Here at turn 1, I used the pit exit and the beginning of the braking markers. You hold the brake to the center of the mountain and you can accelerate right at the other half here. A quick shift up to gear 2, back down to gear 1 to make the turn. Another quick up to 2, back to 1, and be careful here because they're going from uphill to flat, so you can lose traction easy. Don't accelerate too fast as you come into this turn. This seems to be the most trickiest turn here because it's deceiving. You think you could go faster than you can, and you could punch it right after, but I'm telling you, I'm going to spin out there a lot. Here on the straightaway, you can punch it. This is probably going to be a good drafting zone to pass, and I like to start braking around the 250 marker. Here you want to stay in gear 1. I'm able to drift around, but you have to slow down here for the hairpin, and that's pretty much what I go through as I learn a new track. I think I'm up to the point where I can qualify, and yeah, let me know if this helps you out.
All in all, that's how I go about learning a new track. I want to turn on the racing line, learn the corners, learn my markers, how to brake, when I could accelerate, and then once I get the hang of it, you take off that racing line and you learn the markers on the track. Don't forget, you want to learn your entries, find the point where you could brake, and immediately get back onto the gas. You don't want to have to coast through a corner. That's a lot of times where you have some freaky shit happen. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you get something out of this. Hopefully you guys, get better on the track. Next up will be Long Beach, and I can't wait to show you guys how we do. Until then, see you on the next one. Peace.